It was a Saturday morning at Lake Guntersville, Alabama. 8 guys with carbon fiber rods, state-of-the-art reels, tackle boxes that cost more than a month's rent. 8 guys, 0 fish. About 50 meters away, an old man, wearing a worn straw hat, with a simple fishing line and a tackle box that looked about 40 years old, had landed his third base in less than 25 minutes. I was one of those 8. If you want to fish like this, sign up here and turn on notifications, because there's a lot more like this coming soon. That day changed the way I think about fishing. It wasn't the equipment. It wasn't the spot. It was something this guy learned from his father, and his father learned it from his grandfather, back when nobody depended on a store to fish well. And the best part? It costs pennies. You can buy it at the corner store. But before I show you what that old man was wearing, let me tell you what happened that day, exactly as it happened. Because the story itself will teach you half the secret. His name was Earl. 70-something years old, he had lived on the shores of Guntersville for as long as he could remember. Son of a Deep South fisherman, grandson of a fisherman. The whole family had lived off what they got from that water. He had been fishing there since before GPS, fish finders, or any electronic device with a color screen existed. I went up to him after the third base came out. I asked what he was using as bait. He smiled, showed me an old rubber crawfish, just like the one I had in my tackle box. Same color, same size, except his had a different smell. Strong, like yeast mixed with something vegetable-based. Before casting the fourth lure, he took a small piece of cotton from his pocket, the kind that comes in those little medicine bottles, put a few drops from a small brown vial on it, lightly pressed it with his thumb, and wrapped it around the hook along with the rubber bait. He did all this without explaining anything to me. He cast, waited about 4 seconds, and retrieved slowly. The fourth base came in. I just stared, confused. It wasn't the fishing spot. He was fishing in the same channel as most of us. It wasn't the equipment, for God's sake. It was that thing right there, that wet cotton ball. I kept persisting in the conversation. He gradually opened up. He said his father taught him this as a family recipe. He said that fish don't eat what they don't smell first, and that most fishermen throw bait into the water as if the base were blind and deaf, but that in reality the fish arrives at the bait through its nose before it arrives through its eye. Meanwhile, the other 7 and I were switching bait, changing spots, and checking the water temperature app. Earl calmly filled the cooler. No rush, as if you already knew the outcome before you even started. But what made that cotton work that way? The answer is deeper than it seems, and that's exactly where the industry doesn't want you to get to. But before I explain the whole logic, quickly, most fishermen end up spending money on expensive bait to compensate for what they don't know about fish behavior. The link below has a complete guide to help you fish more using what you already have. Just download it. What Earl did had a clear mechanism. He used cotton as a vehicle for the slow release of attractant. When you put attractant directly on the bait, the current carries it all away in 30 seconds. The smell disappears, but the cotton holds it in, releasing it slowly, creating an olfactory trail that the fish tracks down the current as if it were a trail of natural food in the water. Simple, cheap, and it works in a way that most $60 baits can't replicate. At first, it seems like superstition. But when you understand how bass, crappies, and catfish perceive the world, it all makes sense. And that's where science explains it perfectly. Fish have a structure called the lateral line, sensory cells that run along both sides of the body and detect variations in pressure, vibration, and chemical compounds dissolved in the water. But what most influences their feeding behavior, especially in lakes with low visibility or in low light conditions early in the morning, is their sense of smell. The largemouth bass has highly sensitive olfactory receptors. Research from Auburn University has shown that it can detect amino acids, compounds present in meat, fish, and insects, everything it eats in nature, in concentrations of parts per billion. That's the equivalent of smelling a drop of blood in an Olympic-sized swimming pool. One drop. When you apply attractant directly to the bait and cast it, the water current disperses the scent in less than half a minute. The fish may even sense that there's something there, but the signal is weak and without a clear direction. No trail, no path. Cotton changes that. It works like a controlled release reservoir. You soak it, and it gradually releases the compounds, building a plume of scent that lasts between 15 and 25 minutes in the same spot. Depending on the water temperature and local flow, the fish follow this trail like a path of breadcrumbs. One arrives, then more follow. This detail of temperature and release time is one of those explored in depth in the guide, along with two other factors that, when combined, completely change the fish's behavior depending on the season. The logic is simple. You don't need more expensive bait. You need the bait you already have to stay longer in the same spot. And cotton does exactly that. Now that you understand why, let me show you how to apply this to water. Because there are details like how to soak it, how much to use, and where to pour it that make all the difference between working well and working very well. First, the material. Plain cotton, the kind that comes in small medicine bottles or on a roll at the pharmacy. Tear off a small piece about the size of a large pea. You don't need more than that. More cotton doesn't mean more smell, it means more interference with the movement of the lure. The attractant can be any amino acid or fish oil-based product. Garlic oil, crawfish scent, shad oil, the ones that come in small bottles, easy to carry in your vest. 2 to 3 drops on the cotton ball, no more. You want scent, not a cloud. Gently press with your finger to open the fibers and increase contact with the water. In the setup, wrap the cotton around the neck of the hook, just behind the point. No knot needed, just wrap it. It needs to be loose enough to move in the water, but without falling off. The bait goes in front, the cotton goes behind, and the fish's nose is the first to follow the scent trail. For casting, it works best on bottom structures, submerged branches, rocks, docks, deep breaks. Cast 1.5 meters beyond the structure. Let it sink to the bottom. Retrieve slowly with pauses of 2 to 3 seconds. No elaborate presentation needed. You've already done the presentation beforehand. The scent arrived before the lure. 2 mistakes that ruin the effect. Using cotton that's too wet before spraying. The attractant all comes off on your hand, not in the water, and changing spots too quickly. The cotton needs about 10 minutes in the same spot to build the trail. If you change it every 3 minutes, you ruin the work before it even takes effect. Do you know why the industry doesn't talk about this? There's no profit margin on buying a package of cotton and a $15 bottle of bait. The industry needs to sell new rods, new reels, $70 lures with vibration technology, and colors that change with temperature. Cotton isn't patented. Earl's knowledge doesn't come in packaging. The store isn't your enemy, but its interests aren't the same as yours. Its interest is that you come back next week with your wallet open. Earl went once a year, bought fishing line and hooks, and caught more fish than anyone else. You already have what you need. Now imagine what it will be like on your next fishing trip. Imagine you're at a lake you know well on a Saturday morning. Your friends are changing bait for the 3rd time, complaining that the fish aren't biting. You've already prepared your cotton, added 2 drops of shad oil, wrapped it around the hook, and cast it into the snag about 40 meters away. Wait. Stop for 3 seconds. Retract slowly. First base. His friends are watching. Second, what bait are you using? You show him the old crawfish you've used 1,000 times. But I have that same one. You smile and don't explain. Third, send the point over. You send it, but the point was never the secret. And when they ask you what app you used to find the fish, you'll remember Earl, the worn straw hat, the small brown bottle, the knowledge that comes from people who learned to fish without depending on any store. Click now, secure your access to high-level fishing, and let these strategies start transforming your next fishing trips. The link is in the first pinned comment. When you return from the water applying what you've learned, come back here and comment, "I caught more." That will be your commitment to your evolution in fishing. And perhaps it's exactly the step that separates the stories you hear from the stories you'll start telling. Subscribe here, turn on notifications, and comment Earl's Cotton below if you want more old tricks that the industry buried. We're just getting started.